Hey team, it is that time of year again. We are going to be reviewing an application, and since some things have changed, I'm going to share my screen and just show you how I go through this. Now, before I do that, I want to remind you that you are going to need to have open your candidate evaluation summary. Let me actually show you that first. I have two screens. The way that I do this is I have the candidate evaluation summary open on one screen. I've got my ERAS open on a different screen. And then I'm juggling back and forth at the end once I've gotten all the information that I need. Please do review the candidate summary in depth before you start your first review. It will help you figure out what you need to put down. Okay, so I'm not going to show you that anymore, but I will show you at the very end. I'll go through how I do it with you. All right, so I'm going back to the PWS physician program director workstation, and you can see here I have a filter that I'm working off of. As always, you will get your own filters. They will have your own students. This is people who have signaled, and I'm going to pick someone. I was going to pick Kira Drobny because she interviewed. She spent a month with us. So you're going to click on their name, and this is going to bring up their application. And I'm just going to. It's really slow right now because all the program directors are eagerly in. There's a lot that's screened, so their gender, their pronouns, their picture is screened now. But just this is what it's always going to look like. You're going to have the name. You're going to have, if they have a signal right here, you're going to have scores. You're going to have notes. You're going to use those tabs a lot. You're going to have statuses. This will be, I will assign it to you, so that will show you there. And then there are going to be all these tabs. Think of them as different files that you're going to go through. Okay, so I'm going to pop up my notes page because I'm going to just type in as I go. When I extract the data, I'm going to extract it into an Excel spreadsheet, and it's going to bring in certain things, but not everything. And so I'm really hoping that everyone can use a very similar format to what is going on. All right, so the first thing that I am going to do is hobbies and interests are back. They were missing last year, but they are back. I always like to put those at the bottom. So you can see I've popped up my note, and I am just pasting that in. I really like that. Okay, and that's really all I'm going to get from this personal. I am going to put at the very front gold signal because I'm not going to pull that. Okay, so I do want to know. And again, remember, that's right here, signaled. Okay, and then I'm just gonna, I go in the same order every time. And so now I'm gonna look at preferences. I don't look a huge amount of here. Right here, she grew up in the North Dallas area. So I'm gonna say from North Dallas area. This will help with Gestalt. Again, go through your rubric. It will help you figure out how to do this. And then education. So here I'm going to look, in general, we're looking for red flags, right? We're gathering data, but we're also looking for red flags. So here I'm going to see DO, Lincoln, and 25. If she took more than 4 years, I'm going to note that, right? But 25, 21, that's 4 years, okay? And then she got a BA at Lipscomb University in 20. So she took a year off. So I'm noting that as well in her timeline. I'm going to look for what she did. Okay, she wasn't in humanism. She wasn't in Sigma Sigma Phi. She got some research scholarships. That's all well and good. Professional organizations, don't write these down unless they're red flags. What's a red flag? Orthopedic, anesthesia, pediatric, right? A sign that they're applying somewhere else. That we want to know, okay? Hometowns can be helpful. We're going to say from Prosper. Okay, and then if there's any interruption, that is important. We want to know about that and what it is. They took a leave for a medical reason, the parent died, something like that, okay? Scroll up, we're just going to keep going down. They all have a total of 10 experiences that they are allowed to talk about. If they have some sort of grit, they're the first person in their family to go to college, that's up here. That can be interesting. In general, I'm just looking for interesting things that I might want to talk to them about if I were to interview them. And I'm looking also, if you look at our Gestalt score, I'm looking for leadership, service, humility, empathy, those things, right? So she provides healthcare to low income patients. So this is free clinic. That's what she's doing there, right? And medical mission. to Guatemala. I'm not putting a huge amount of detail in here, just enough so I kind of get a sense of who she is. Okay. The other thing to look at is they all have times. If someone spent 4 hours doing something, that's nowhere near as important as someone who spent more time. All right. So she's the VP of the PAL Care Interest Group. We love palliative care. So that's really interesting. I'm less interested in things that have happened in college. So she was a student athlete, but I'm less interested in that, although she was Division I. So if you like that, I guess Division I track and field. And again, I'm keeping it pretty brief because we don't want to have to go through a huge amount of stuff. So she did some research. It was a long time ago. And she was a scribe during scribe between college and med. So that's helpful, right? Now we know what she did during that year. She was an assistant manager of a studio and she scribed. So she did something. It wasn't just like a lost year. Managed cycling studio. You can see I'm not paying too much attention to the grammar or the, all right, so this is publications. I don't super care about this. This was all a long time ago. So college pubs. If it's super relevant, if it's super impressive, I might write the number. If it's a first author, I might write like what it was about. If it's something you think might be interesting to talk about on a interview, right, then put some more information there. Okay, so, and then here we are. So this is the first time, but not the only time we're going to see these scores. I'm going to write them down because they're high enough. So I'm going to go pass 253 and pass 654. In general, if all they have is a COMLEX, we're going to score them on COMLEX. If they have STEP and COMLEX, we're going to score them on STEP. It's just a little bit more robust of a test. Okay. And the but that's, again, that's the first time, but not the last time we're going to look at the scores. This information down here, licensure, super important. If they have had a DUI, if they have a felony charge, right? Like if it's some sort of problem, you're going to copy and paste anything in any of those questions directly into the box, and just so that I know about it. Same thing with limiting factors. These are screened now. So they're not going to be all that helpful. But in general, anything where there's something wrong, where there's something wrong, and if it's so wrong, then you stop, right? You stop, you say no, and I'll explain how you make your decisions about that later. So the documents are the last piece, and they're going to each open up into a new screen. We've already seen the application and the CV, and so we're going to see these other things. And I actually like to go through and just open them up all at once, because then I know that I've done it, and then I can go through and see everything. So I'm going to open up the transcript. I'm going to open up the MSPE. I'm going to open up the personal statement. The photo, remember, is screened, no point there. I'm going to open up all her letters. And they're opening left to right. And then I look at this, transcripts again. Why are we going to look at them? I will show you. Okay, so, and then I actually, because this is the last thing that opened, I look at this. Why do we look at this? If they have failed, it will not show up on that previous screen. It will only show up on the transcript, okay? So we are just checking to see for a fail, okay? So here, no fail. Here, no fail, right? So I do not have to go back and change these. But if she had a failure, you would only see it there. It would show up nowhere else. And you would then need to add that in. And we can talk about kind of what you would do with that. Okay, so now this is her again, but why? So now we're going to go back and we're going to look at all of her data. Okay, so here's her transcript. What are we looking for? We're looking for fails. We do allow 1 or 2 pre-clerkship fails, but we want to know what they are, so you'd want to put them there. And then the other thing we really want to look for is she going into medicine or is she not going into medicine? Okay, so any fails we want to report out. If she looks pretty stellar, and this does, right, like all A's, pretty amazing. GPA is pretty high. But it's the last part where we're going to look, right? Like 3 optho rotations, we're going to put that down. That's going to make her a maybe. That's going to make her an I need to look at it. Okay, but look, it looks like she's got pretty normal she's got medicine, surgery, peds, family. She's got one optho. I'm okay with that. She's got one emergency medicine, one immunoallergy. I'm okay with all of those. We're really looking for multiples in a different field. 3 derms, 3 anesthesias, 3 orthos, right? Even 2. We're going to be like, I don't know. Okay. But there's nothing bizarre in here, so we don't really need to report anything out. We are gonna it does ask for kind of how well they did in their classes, in their clinical classes, and so here she's getting like all A's. She's getting all A's in her core clerkships, right? So I'm gonna go back with her notes, and I'm gonna say A's in all or clerkships. Again, we don't care about preclinical grades unless they're fails. We care about all fails just so that we can make an appropriate determination. Okay, so now here we are in the MSPE. You guys may have known this as the Dean's letter. It provides a lot of information. Most of it we're going to skim through. We're going to look for highlights. And again, I'm going really fast because I go really fast, but feel free to wind me back, look at this again. So let's just introduce you to what an MSP looks like. Make sure it's the right person, right? There we go. I've seen the wrong person uploaded. Noteworthy characteristics are typically written by the student. So this is another way the student can say, this is what's important to me. Okay, so what is she saying? Give back to communities, serve minority populations, serve as VP for this palliative care thing, completed first marathon. Ooh, look at that. I didn't know that, right? So she completed first marathon. Noteworthy characteristics talk about underserved and service, right? So why am I putting that down? It's in our Gestalt, right? So that's going to go to her Gestalt score. This is super important. If she took a leave of absence, we want to know so that we can ask about it. If she had to repeat a course, they are required to put that here. So this box, you just want to make sure it says no to everything. If it says yes to anything in this box, you're going to paste that into the notes, okay? All right. Most, and everyone does this differently, most of them are really specific about the pre-courses and not so specific about what's going on later. So you can see this is the breakdown. Kira is in red, her cohort is in blue, and wow, she's above everything in first year, she's above everything in second year. And then what they have to do is they have to represent the distribution in her class and what she got. Okay, so look at that, like close to 400 people got an A, like 2 people got a B, and 1 person got a C, and she's in this group. So wow, she's in the top group, but how meaningful is that? I scan for negative comments. I don't actually read the positive stuff all that much because again, like there's so much here. So boom, boom, boom. I'm just looking, she's enthusiastic, she's reliable, right? And again, she's in this top group. We know she's going to be in the all A's group, but what I'm interested in is that it doesn't actually separate people out, right? If she was in this B group, that would be really important. I would say something like got a B, that puts her in the bottom 5 in her class, right? So again, we're looking for red flags. Okay, but here she is, A, she's interested, it's all pretty bland, she's got good interpersonal skills, eager to learn, and they do not have to put nomograms or charts in for electives. But I see nothing in here about like Dr. Drobny wants to be an eye doctor, so I'm just gonna keep on scanning down. Look at this, they're all so tight. This is, anyways, but look at this. This is super helpful and not everybody does it, right? She's in the top quartile in the first 2 years. They don't tell us anything about her clinicals. And then the bottom part just describes the school if you're interested in the school, okay? So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna say top quartile in first 2 years, unclear in clinical clerks, prob top half of class, right? I'm making kind of a guess there. Okay, and as I complete things, I just stop. Okay, so here's her personal statement. I don't look too much at this. I kind of read the first paragraph and then I scan the first sentence and then I read the final paragraph. So she's talking about being an athlete, and everybody likes to compare blank with medicine. A lot of people are puzzles and medicine. We used to have a drinking game in my last program. Just kidding. No, we did not. We do not drink while we do this. Okay, so, and she's regurgitating stuff she's already said. This is kind of bland, but here we go. Down at the bottom, she has taken the time to just personalize us, and that does end up in her interest level. So that is something that's important. Again, just go through the rubric, the scoring rubric, right? So I'm going to say bland, PS, athleticism, and medicine, personalized to teach Fort Worth. And I'm going to go back because I just don't remember. Look at that. She did actually do a little research. She has figured out what our program values are. And so she's done a little bit of research. So that's kind of nice to know. Okay, now we have her letters. Some of them are super, super short like this. Wow, she saw patients. Great, not very helpful. So here's one from Methodist Healthcare in Tennessee. It's a third-year medicine rotation, so that's good. Curious, genuine interest, large caseload. I'm looking for like hard worker kind of stuff here versus like laziness kind of stuff. So great physician, took an interest, looks like good letters. That looks like a personalized and good letter. And here's another person. The other thing is like, who are they? So look, this is a core faculty of residency. Let me go back and see what this one was. And this is just an attending, right? So if they're more involved in a residency program, then that's going to be more important. And here we go. Dedicated, hardworking, compassionate. And this person has worked with her for 2 different rotations. So I'm going to say letters, note compassion and enthusiasm to work. Okay, and that's basically my review. Again, it's going to take you a little bit longer. I'm going to add, otherwise it's just going to go away. So you have to make sure you add. And so here I am. I have 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is everything that I've pulled out from her application, and the second paragraph is copy and paste her hobbies. And that's it. That's what we're looking for everything. So now I have to decide, what am I going to do with her? And we're going to scroll back up to this status, and we're going to click this because this is going to allow us to give an idea of what we want to do. Okay, so you're going to click 2 boxes. The first box you're going to click is application reviewed. This will remove it when you refresh your list. It will remove it from your list so that you don't end up reviewing the same application over and over again. And it will add it to a second set of lists that I will then look at later. Okay. The other 3 we're going to look at are these 3 buttons. I've made it simpler for people who did it last year. We only have 3 buttons to choose. You're going to say you want to invite her, maybe, or you want to reject her. And we'll go over this more in the workshop. But if you say invite her, I am probably not going to do much more looking. I'm going to look at your notes. I am not going to re-review. If you say reject, same thing. Please put in the reject why you are rejecting, right? Has felony conviction, failed 3 clerkships, can't pass a shelf, right? Like put in had a professionalism issue and describe the professionalism issue. Once you've decided you're going to reject someone, you can stop reviewing there, right? You don't have to keep going, but you need to make clear why you are rejecting the person so that I can understand. And again, I'm not going to re-review these applications. I'm going to look at your notes and I'm going to be like, yep, agree with that. Okay. The maybe is where I'm going to spend the most time on what you've done. And maybe you're like, well, I don't really know. Her grades are a little worse, but she seems like she really likes us, right? Like, I'm just not sure. Okay. And so here, we're going to invite her. She looks great. She did rotate with us. You may not know that, but don't worry. I'll be keeping track of that. So we're going to invite her. Okay. And those are the 2. And you can either do the status at the end or you can do the status in the middle. I just, and then the other thing that you need to do is you need to score her application. Okay. If you have rejected, you can score or you can just give a 0 and move on. Okay. But we're going to go down to this custom scores box and there are 2 scores. So this is where we're going to go back into our summary. The screen sharing is working well. Okay, so we're going to go back into our screen, into our summary. Oh, Is it not going to let me do both at the same time? Oh, it is. Okay, great. Okay, and so here is our evaluation summary. It's actually for 24. Okay, and so the med student Dean's letter, we're not really sure. We think it's kind of vague, but we're not going to penalize her for that. It did say in the first 2 years she's in the top quartile, so we're going to kind of give her a 4. Extracurricular involvement, she did some medical mission stuff. She did some free clinic. It wasn't, and then she was the vice president, so she did have a longitudinal leadership role. So here we are still in this 4 category. Her transcript, it's like, I guess she gets a 4, right? And then she passed meet COMLEX, so she does not get a, anything there. We're going to use her step score, which is a 253. So that's also going to give her a 4. Now, if we didn't have the 253, we would be using her COMLEX, which is a 254. There you go. Look, they're both 4s. Okay, so far she is like a solid 4. Her letters, I think, are pretty good, right? They're not like this is the best student ever, but they are pretty good. So she's really going to get a 4 for her academic score. Okay. Equally important is the Gestalt review. And this is based on 3 different things. Does she demonstrate our core values? Does she have interest? And does she have a location preference? Okay. And so here we go. I like to do 1. Well, I guess it's out of 2. So we have a strong evidence of collaboration, empathy, and humility, right? We saw that in her letters. We saw that in her MSPE. We have a personal statement geared towards Texas Health, and we have a positive preference signal. So she gets a 2 here. And then she has personal connections to DFW. She rotated here, and her family is from Prosper. So these are all, we're going to average, right? So the academic score is an average of 4. The Gestalt score is an average of 2. And you can see you have to save the notes, but everything else is just going to save as you go. So that's it. You're done with the application. You have decided you're going to invite the candidate. You have clicked that you've reviewed the application. You have scored the application, and you have put notes so that we can review them later. So that's it. That's what you're going to do. So if you can, and then any questions we'll address when we all get together. All right. Hopefully this was helpful.